do a great job, man. They hustle the whole time, which actually, it's really fun to watch. I'm gonna tell you, volleyball's probably one of my favorite sports to watch. Especially when you have a team like that, and some of those points they get back, you're just like, holy cow, man, how did that happen? And then you see the other team, but what I like about it is just that they're able to get to the next point. Sometimes in a wrestling match, I don't say it's that easy, but we're trying to work to be able to get to that, right? To win to the next position, get to the next point, and those type of things. And they're an incredible example of just how to do that, and then how to represent our program and represent, the university at the national level, right? They're winning at the highest level, and not the mid-major, because I just heard mid-major get talked about. That mid-major, you can throw that in the garbage. As far as I'm concerned, we're Division I. We're one of the best teams in the country, and you can talk about that in volleyball, you can talk about the basketball, you can talk about the wrestling. So we can get rid of those rankings as far as I'm concerned. There's one ranking, and maybe other coaches feel different about it, but I do not. Ran over. Let's see. Yeah, we had two different groups. So our freshmen went over to Wisconsin. We got some dings this week, and sometimes that's competing. Sometimes that happens. Competing well. We got a good group of freshmen. And Gunnarsson made the finals, and I think I just kind of realized that he was, I don't want to say off the mat, but he had an injury. He took a redshirt year, then he took an Olympic redshirt year. So it'd almost been about 3 years since he'd been back, in a UNI singlet. And, the North Dakota State meet to me was no indication of what he's capable of. He really, did a great job of rebounding this week and is building back up and had a good week of competition and practice. Freshmen are competing well, scoring a lot of points. And it just kind of continuing to progress. We had 3 champs at this tournament. I think, I was happy with, how we finished. I think we had 2 top 10 wins, which a guy like Ryder and Wyatt, they plan on being top 10 guys, to me. So that's no surprise that those guys won. To me, it's how they performed. Ryder getting a major decision and going and getting a takedown late in the match. Volker hit some incredible stuff. The re-attack, the second attack that he had, against Luffman was as good as you're going to see. Because he doesn't have to wrestle like a typical heavyweight. But those guys that won in the finals, Corey scored 16 points. I think Ryder scored 11 and Wyatt scored 9. In finals matches, we have to be able to score more points. We can win a 1-0 match, but when you start looking at the numbers and the metrics of, you start scoring 8, 9, 10 points, your probability goes way up. So we got to score more points, and we got to give ourselves more opportunities. And those guys in the finals did that. We had 3 champs. Rankin had a really good day.